everybody, welcome back to Penny for Your Thoughts, where I accidentally put honey in my coffee this morning. You know, it's not half bad. Anyways, I am once again making my degrees relevant to this channel by listening to space-inspired music. In college, my research colleagues and I put together this massive Spotify playlist to put on while we were observing, and all the songs had something to do with astronomy or space or physics or something like that. And I never really had the chance to go through it song by song. So today I've just picked a random title off of it and we're just gonna go for it. That track is I Speak Astronomy by Jinjer. I've heard a tiny bit about Jinjer in the past, mostly people comparing different bands to them, but I've only just begun dipping my toe into the vast ocean that is metal subgenres. They are a Ukrainian band. Apparently they're from Donetsk, and they've been around since the Great Recession, which is pretty cool. I'm kind of going into this blind, so there's not much more I can say about this at the moment, but let's see if they really can speak astronomy to an astronomer. God damn, that time signature, I had to look it up. There's one other song that I really like that kind of does this. It's called The Ritual of Perpetual Motion, and it's by Bear McCreary. But essentially, apparently what they're doing, according to Google, is alternating 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and adding an extra beat with every measure. It almost gives the illusion that you're falling off a cliff, and I love that. But on to the lyrics. So far, it's been fairly basic. Sent signals amplified through tidal debris is what I study, so that's cool. A lot of people who want to reference astronomy and music will go straight for the jugular and talk about supernovas, which they have done. They followed that up really quickly talking about dark matter. I don't imagine that most people who clicked on this video will be unfamiliar with supernovas or dark matter, but just in case you are, a supernova is what happens when a giant star runs out of fuel in its core and it can no longer support the weight of its own corpse. What that leads to is the star collapsing inward. As it collapses, the heat in its core grows very, very quickly and causes an explosion, which will rip the whole thing apart. So that's what they're talking about when they say release your energy. Dark matter is a little bit more complicated. In the 1930s, the astronomer Jan Oort, who I've talked about before on this channel, was observing NGC, I think, 3115, I could be wrong about that, and found that it was rotating much faster than you would otherwise think, given how much mass you can see in it. And one of the most accepted explanations that we've come up with for this is that there's another kind of matter in a galaxy that doesn't emit light that we can't detect, and which causes galaxies to spin faster than they ought. Now, Jinjer is saying dark matter is so divine, and I know that they're probably just saying it's cool, but I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson who said something about the God of the gaps. This idea that anything that we can't explain with modern physics right now is the territory of a divine power. So I like reading that into these lyrics as well. I think that's kind of nice.
Tell me why are you so suspicious? When you see black holes in my eyes. In my eyes. Let this binary be blessed by only X-rays. Singularities are next. If there is Lord out there, he is just a ghost sitting in his spaceship. Observing the parade. Space force so delicious. Dark matter so tell me why are you so suspicious? When you see black holes in my eyes.
Okay. First of all, whoa. I know that there are different ways that you can scream, and I'm not familiar with the terminology that is associated with each of these tones that you can get, but I think I heard 3 different techniques in there, maybe only 2, and those are really impressive. I love how she can just control that so well. That's so wonderful. I really want to learn how to do that someday. So they've gone for the jugular again, which is talking about black holes, the sexiest objects in the universe. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know what a black hole is, especially after the Event Horizon Telescope took that picture of M87 and it got plastered all over the news. I will take this opportunity to separate a black hole, which is the celestial object, from a singularity, which is the infinitely dense mathematical point at the center of a black hole. You can think of a black hole as being made up of different layers. So there's the singularity at the center, which is an infinitely dense core. And then there's the area in between the singularity and the event horizon, from which light cannot escape. The event horizon is that ring around it where if you go past, you will be moving faster than the speed of light. So there's no amount of energy that you can try to expend to get out of that gravity well. And then additionally, there's an accretion disk around the black hole, which is the immediate matter being eaten. And that's actually what we see when we take an image of a black hole. Like, for example, the one that EHT took, you saw this sort of donut ring around it. Now, she said something else as well, which was, let this binary be blessed by holy X-ray, which I think is adorable because I actually have a friend who's working on X-ray binaries, and I'm sure she's listened to this song before. But an X-ray binary is actually a class of celestial object. It's typically a larger star orbiting a very dense, compact object. So that's either a white dwarf, a neutron star, or a black hole. What happens in this pairing, in this partnership, is that matter from the donor, which is the larger star, will accrete onto the smaller star, and the energy released is released in the X-ray band, which is where we observe it. I think there's actually a Star Trek episode on observing X-ray binaries, and every single time I go to a conference, everybody who's studying X-ray binaries uses the screen cap from Star Trek instead of an actual artist's depiction of the system because Star Trek got it so right. I just think that's hilarious. They also say, if there is Lord out there, he's just a guest sitting in his spaceship observing the parade, which I think is a really great piece of imagery. This idea that the universe is so much greater than any god we could possibly imagine. I hold with Ibn al-Arabi on this, actually. I think that what we think of as God or the divine is just everything there is, the reality as a whole. Let's continue.
Don't discontinue this expedition. Let's talk about the horizon of my eyes. Come and join me in my rotation. When you won't
Her voice is so wonderful. I'm really getting into it. She can do so many things so well. Okay, so first off, come join me in my rotation. We won't be held by no bars. We talked a little bit earlier about the rotation of galaxies and how that relates to the discovery of dark matter. But what she means by bars here is there's a specific subtype of spiral galaxy called a barred spiral galaxy. I'll show a picture up here. It's just a spiral galaxy with one bar in the middle and then two main arms leading off of that. They mention here also parallel universe theory. This is deeply theoretical stuff. I'm gonna just say that we don't have any proof of the multiverse at the moment, and string theory, which is kind of where a lot of people jump off of towards multiple universes, is not a theory that we can currently prove. It's the idea that instead of particles existing in a plane, everything is made up of waves and we interact with each other because our matter is on the same wavelength as all the rest of the matter in our universe. This is a really poor explanation, by the way. If you go and talk to string theorists, they'll talk your ear off about this. But the idea is that a parallel universe would be behaving similarly to our own, but doesn't interact directly with us because they exist in a different particulate wavelength. There is one thing that kind of bothers me here about this particular stanza, because she says, after 28 light years, my research must be ended somehow. A lot of people will use light year as a measure of time when in fact it's a measure of distance. A light year is the number of miles and the number of kilometers, the distance over which light can travel in the span of 1 year. And this also connects to another thing that people tend to get wrong. Star Wars actually got this wrong, which is that a parsec is also a measure of distance, not a measure of time. I know it sounds like space second or whatever, but it's really not. So unless she's saying that she's traveled a certain distance, she's traveled 28 light years, then this would not be correct. We appreciate the representation anyway. Let's finish out the song. Well, I liked that a whole bunch. It's very different from the other song out of 2018 that I listened to recently on this channel. I love the playing with the time signatures. I think that's so cool. I love it when I see anybody do it because it feels like so many people in music are afraid of leaving the 4/4-3/4-6/8 space. I love a good odd signature. Give me more of that, you know? Also, this woman's voice is fantastic. I really appreciate that they're playing with these ideas because it's just so rare to see people kind of go into astronomy as a special interest and bring out art like this. Usually they'll just sort of dance on the surface and talk about, you know, Leo and Pisces and all this kind of stuff and maybe a supernova or two. And they won't get into referencing X-ray binaries or something crazy niche like that. So I love that a song like this exists. If you have any questions about the theory that I talked about in this video or any suggestions about other space songs you might like to see me react to, let me know in the comments. And yeah, let me know if this band also has any other astronomy related topics. I would love that. Stay nerdy. See you in the next one.